If you are seeing this before July 18th, Mercury is about to go retrograde, which honestly is nothing new. Mercury retrogrades about 3 or 4 times a year. We just happen to be in the season again. So what can we expect this time around? Mercury is going to be in Leo, ruled by the sun, and the sun this retrograde is going to be both in Cancer and in Leo. So we're going to have a lot of emotions before Leo season starts, 22nd of July. Lots of emotions that we are thinking about, reconsidering, things that come to the surface also. Oh yeah, that thing from that past event, this is how I feel about it. Stuff like that could come up. Oh yeah, and this thing that's happening right now, I might not know how to talk about it, but I can remember these other events that have happened that might be a little bit similar. And let me break it down like that. So that could be a part of it. Once we enter into Leo season, we've got the sun in Leo and Mercury in Leo. Lots of Leo, you know, lots of light, let it be bright. We're probably going to have a lot of light, a lot of clarity on things that we once spoke, things that we once said to ourselves. It could be because Leo has to do with the parent-child relationship. So it could be things that we've said to our parents or to our children, things that we're reconsidering or things that come up to be reminded of. It's like if you promise your child you're going to do something and you forget about it, it's genuine, like you honestly just forgot, and your kid is like, well, hey, you said you were going to do that thing. Stuff like that might come up on like a literal level, on a very real world applicable level. On a more magical standpoint, it's going to be very related to joy and the spark of joy, being the center of attention. This could be a time, Mercury retrograde and the sun in Leo, okay, this could be a time where you are not going to be able to get your point across. Whoever you're talking to, they may not be listening. They may just want to make the point. You ever argued with somebody like that? Okay, well, the hothead of the season is going to be in that area with this Mercury retrograde. So if you can tell you're not getting through to somebody, it might be a good idea to take a step back, but discern for yourself. Everybody handles those situations differently. So the other part of this Mercury retrograde is that Mercury is right now ruling over the South Node in Virgo and Mars in Virgo, as well as Uranus, and Venus in Gemini. So we actually have a lot to reconsider when it comes to the areas where Mercury is related to. Things like, what are we worth really? Okay, Venus. So talking about that, getting it out of your system, talking about the way that other people have treated you and maybe what your parents think you're worth and what you would disagree with and how you would reconsider that. There's also going to be, because Uranus is in Gemini, probably some unpredictable information that is brought up for us to reconsider. Sometimes Mercury retrogrades, we can kind of see within the shadow periods before and after themes, right? With Uranus being ruled by Mercury, those themes are gonna get a lot more blurred. Not to hurry it, okay? We just don't even my words, we may not have a clear picture. Oh my goodness. We might not have a clear picture about what the Mercury retrograde is really going to do or really going to be for us. For people who are really tapped into this Uranus and Gemini transit, this Mercury retrograde is going to be a great time to check in with your magic. Chaos witches, people who work with chaos, people who work with the unpredictable. How does that unpredictable chaotic magic change? Well, Uranus is in Gemini and we're having a Mercury retrograde. Uranus is like a 7-8 year long transit. This is the first time this is happening. So if you can get a grip on it now, probably the next time it happens, it'll make sense. So as a practitioner, I will be looking out for that. So just a fair warning for everybody else. Now, if we go to the South Node in Virgo and Mars in Virgo, the South Node has to do with things being pretty easy on the Earth. So this Mercury retrograde could actually ground some of those bigger purposes that have been kind of floating around. Things that we forgot that we said to ourselves coming back up. Things that we've been thinking about and saying to ourselves from previous spaces coming back up. And they're surfacing at this time so that they can come to the Earth so that we can actually revere them. They're grounded, they're physical, they're earthly, they're here. It's not just floating up and around anymore. Now, the Mars part of this is probably one of the more interesting facets of this Mercury retrograde because that Mars is also ruling over the Aries space where we have Saturn retrograde and Neptune retrograde and soon to be Chiron retrograde. Chiron right now as I'm filming this is direct but will be retrograde at the end of July 30th for exactness. This combination of retrogrades and planets is going to ask us to really look at the big picture, gain the clarity of the big picture, while simultaneously with those realizations of the big picture and the clarity and like the life purpose check-in, we realize a lot and are like, actually, this is a different direction that I thought I was going to go in. Let me make some changes then. Mercury retrograde is going to help us to see, okay, in those big changes, do we need to change paperwork? Do you need to change banks? Do you need to, stuff that has to do with Saturn hierarchy, things that could also be related to Mercury with communication? paperwork, conversations with customer support or service support systems when it comes to, hierarchy, business stuff. Okay, now might be the time to just take a look at it. You might not have the time to get everything in order because Saturn retrograde is going to be longer. You might have the time to get everything in order though. And if you do, I would say go ahead and do it. If not, make a note, do it later. It's going to be a time for us to kind of get the P's and Q's in order, get our I's and T's dotted and crossed so that we're not lost, because come September, there's going to be some big turnaround jostles up and down. So this Mercury retrograde is making sure that we're prepared. You got it? Everybody good? Okay, because we're headed into another eclipse season. This is also going to ask us too, with these big picture clarities and big picture like revelations, really on a spiritual level, what in your practice needs to change, if anything. And if you have these long-term goals that you're looking at, how can the practices that you're working with now help to assist and support those different transitions that we'll probably be going through the beginning of 2026? It's kind of a big one. So just a heads up. Gratitude, reverence, and love to you. Happy almost Mercury retrograde. It's retrograde season. So here we are with the updates. Keep up on your brew. Keep doing what you need to do. I will too. And I'll talk to you soon. Also true.